what's great about this, thank you all for coming, is, being in the Mike Ferry system, even if you're not in Mike Ferry, if you've been in coaching before, or maybe you haven't been in coaching, but you're interested, you'll get a lot out of a session just like this. Because what are we talking about is someone who's actually experienced a lot of success. So, Rebekah, let's just introduce yourself and tell us about where you work and how long in the business, all that general good stuff.
Sure. So Rebekah Gilbert, I actually work at Century 21. I am in Texas now. So Dallas, Fort Worth area. I've been here for about 5 years, but I started my real estate career in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So I
Wow.
worked there for 5 years as well. So I'm going on 10 years in the business, which is
10.
kind of wild to think about.
Wow. So how many of you, some of you haven't been to 10 years or just passed but that this is someone who's been full-time realtor, right? Showing you that
Mhm.
it can be a career and a good one. And so I know you from coaching, and then we've met a bunch of times, Rebekah, consider you a friend. Tell me about this Mike Ferry system. How has it overall helped you with moving your business forward? Because
You
just
know,
before the call, Rebekah was just sharing with me her goal this month is 7 listings taken. She's
yes,
not,
it's going to happen. It's
it's
definitely
going to
going to
happen.
happen.
So tell us
Yeah,
about that.
so which is so funny because I feel like, before things kind of shifted a little bit last year, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I was averaging 7 to 8 listings almost every month. So all we've got to do is just shift our mindset. And so I'm shifting, and it's time to take at least 7 listings every month moving forward. But
good.
as far as the system goes, what I was thinking is over time, my understanding of the system has changed, right? Like it's
Okay,
evolved. So when you
right.
first start, it's just a matter of like, okay, I got to learn these scripts, right? And the coaches, they tell you what to do. And you're like, is this really going to work? I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying. And
Right.
so it's like you kind of learn the scripts a little bit and you use them, and you might have a little success here or there. But when it really changes is over time, the system builds on each other. So like you learn the scripts, right? But then you've got to learn how to actually take a listing. You have to learn how to prepare for a listing. You have to know how to handle objections. You have to get to the listing appointment, be able to sign the contract, right? Like asking
Right.
for the signature to sign the contract. Then you take the listing and, oh crap, it hasn't sold yet. So now you've got to figure out, what do I say to be able to get this house sold? So you've got to learn how to price, and then price reductions. So it's a process. And Mike, when I moved here to Texas,
Yeah.
I had known how to sell real estate. I was successful back in Myrtle Beach. I sold a lot of real estate, but I came here and I didn't know anybody. So even though I knew the system and I knew the process, he said, Rebekah, time takes time.
Yeah.
You've got to just trust the process. And I'm like, but I don't want to. I want it to just happen now. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
time for it to just, time takes time. But that is the reality. And I
That
think we all
is.
forget, and that's when people give up too early
Mhm.
is, well, I've learned the scripts. I set the appointment. I finally took a listing. Now it's
Yeah.
not selling, right?
Right.
Like, you just want it all to start happening fast. And for some people, it happened fast. For me, it took some time.
Right. Right.
I
It
think just
happens.
really knowing that it's like an onion, and it's the layers of the onion that you just have to keep learning. It's the accumulation effect that over time, like each day is one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah.
Every day looks the same, but when I look back, everything's different.
That's interesting. I like that. Every day looks the same, but when you look back, everything is different.
The person I was when I first started coaching, 100% different than who I am now.
Right.
Right. And so trusting the process, doing what your coach says, listening to what they say, taking the time to really work at the system. There's so many different parts to the system, and you've got to just start working it. And what's so interesting is when you start going to events and then you hear Mike and you hear Tony, you hear things in different ways, So like his system works for the newbie. It works for the middle person who's been in there a couple years and is starting to see success. It works for the guys that are making 100 plus deal, or doing 100 plus deals. So it's interesting how like it evolves, but yet it speaks to you throughout all your different success, you
Ooh, I
know?
like that. I like that a lot. So we before we started, Rebecca, you were sharing with me that about live events and the fact that at these live events, you said something. You said it all starts to make sense at the
Mhm.
live event. So share with us what you mean by that, because they are really important, but I don't think sometimes people grasp just how important live events are.
Oh, 100%. So I had actually heard about the Mike Ferry system and been exposed to it a little bit
Right?
before going to my first live event, but it was very shortly after I started learning the system, I went to an event. And
Okay.
I'm so happy I did, because being in that room with that energy, with the agents, other agents, because I was never exposed to people who made a lot of money, truly. Like when I grew
Interesting.
up, I mean, my mom raised us on $1,700 a month after my dad passed away, 5 kids.
Wow.
So money was not a thing in our family. And so going to the event and being exposed, I'm like, no way, these people are actors. Like, there's no way that that person makes that much and sells that much, right? Like, it
Yeah.
almost seems unbelievable. And then, so, and then being able to be exposed to these people. I mean, you've
Mhm.
got to have the courage to be able to go talk to them, but they're so the way that Mike has designed and created this environment of Mike Ferry agents is they're all
Yes.
so helpful and generous, and they want to help you because they know what it's like to start. And so you're exposed to all those people, then plus just like seeing and hearing Mike and Tony Smith and, you know, Ron
Yeah.
in person. They're amazing speakers. And so it's one, just entertaining, but two, you really start to learn that process even more, because it's literally 3, 4, 5 days of just hearing the system versus a 30-minute coaching call, which is
Right.
fantastic, Renee.
Thank
30-minute
you, of
coaching calls are
course.
great, but you just don't get the same amount of coaching calls. Helps you with what you're dealing with right then, and you start to learn the process of the
Mhm.
system. The retreats is where you really get like the deep dive into the information.
That's a great way to look at it, Rebecca. Thank you. So you're saying, the coaching calls give you that nuts and bolts of the day to
Yeah.
day, but then when you get
Mhm.
there, you see the big picture when
The
you're there
agents that are
for,
doing it, the
yeah,
speakers giving you all the information, right?
that's
It's
good.
it's pretty
So
awesome.
that helped you a lot. So now let's talk about some real nuggets that helped you. When you look back at your 10 years in the business and you've made money, I always see you as, in the top the top one or two or three at your brokerage. So but you didn't just you start out there. What are
Mhm.
some things that helped you along the way where you said, gosh, when I learned that, when I started doing that, my business moved forward? What's one or two things you can share with us that comes
Well,
to
again,
mind?
it's evolving, right? So like
Right.
the one or two things that really helped me in the beginning
Yeah.
was like starting to see success. So it's like I would take the 30 days. I'm sure Renee has told you guys
Right.
this, or, but just learning the scripts. I'd take the 30 days, I'd write them down, I would role play them, I'd practice them, wouldn't work. Didn't get a listing appointment, no results to share, right? But then all of a sudden, after you do that over and over again, you're like, oh my God, it worked. I set an appointment. So there's kind of those like beginning wins
Beginning
that
wins.
gave me the motivation, right, to
Right.
keep
Right.
going. So like just the nuggets of like learning the system. So
Yeah.
there's that part. Then you start, like, for instance, I'm in a mastermind. I've been in a mastermind for about 8 years.
Wow.
We created it. Matt McMillan, I don't know if you know him, out of
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah.
But he makes over $1 million a year. And so a couple of the people in the group, I mean, do fantastic. And so being exposed to those people and reading, so we read a book every month, we read a book every quarter. We talk about different subjects. We talk about thinking bigger. So there's kind
Mhm.
of that next evolution is really being exposed to people that are doing better than you, and then thinking about like that next level thinking, which
Right.
helps tremendously. But
Ooh,
then
so
I moved
that's
to,
great.
and
I
I was
like
going to say,
that.
when I moved to Texas, it was sink or swim. I didn't know anybody at all. So I really had to learn expireds, because before I was a lot more database. When I
Yeah.
came here, I didn't have a database. So we focused a ton on hunting for business.
Tell us about that. So when you're out hunting for business, right? How did you deal with rejection that comes up with hunting? It's part of the business.
Yeah,
How do you deal
so
with that, Rebekah?
my listing taken ratio in Myrtle Beach was about 85%. And then when I came here, I mean, I was at like 45, 50%.
Wow.
I'm like, this is a joke. Like, what is going on here? But it was because I didn't know anybody. There was no past client referrals. There was no center of influence, right?
True.
Or at least it took some time. And so it was purely hunting. So I had to get so good at my expired script. I'll tell you a funny story.
Oh
I
my
went on a
gosh.
listing presentation once, and I mean, if you've ever been to Dallas, Fort Worth, it's massive. There's like 7.5 million people. So did I know all of the neighborhoods? Absolutely not. I still don't. But I went on a listing appointment and I pulled comps from a different neighborhood, was named the same, but it was a totally different city.
Oh, wow.
That's how, yeah. So talk about feeling
Did
like
you get the listing, Rebekah?
I did not get the listing.
Oh my, okay, that's
But
okay. So it happens, folks. If it happened to
yeah,
Rebekah, it could
I
happen to
mean, we
you.
all do stupid things sometimes, but
That's
the
a good
reality is
story.
we learn from it. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, so did I get rejected? Absolutely. On that appointment, I got rejected.
Right.
Do you get rejected? Absolutely. But the beauty is as you start to really get better and internalize the scripts and you learn from your mistakes, the rejection's a lot less. Like this year to date, I'm at 100% listing taken ratio.
Wow.
Last year I was at 90%.
Wow, wow, wow. So that right there, folks, I mean, that's a big point. Here, Rebekah comes into a market where she knows no one. She goes from an 85, 90% list to sales ratio in her previous market because she has the power of those referrals in the database. But coming in knowing no one at 40%, 45%, now she's back up to 90 and 100%. Right? All of this within a span of 10 years. So that's pretty powerful that you stuck to it, Rebekah. And a lot of that would have to be a mindset, which is my next question. What do you do to keep going on the days you don't feel like it? And what do you do for your mindset to regularly keep it where it needs to be? Because you could have given up after moving over.
I mean, I didn't have a choice. I had to take care of myself. So moving here, and to me, there was never a question of, am I going to be successful? It's just how long is it going to take? And I don't mean that, I say that humbly, but I've always had a belief that if somebody else can do it, I sure as heck can do it. And there's been agents that move markets and definitely do fantastic. So get in your head, I will be successful. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take? And the effort that we put into it is going to determine how quickly you end up being successful. So the first year I moved here, I made like $10,000 less than my best year in Myrtle Beach. The next year went up by 100,000. And then René and I were talking when I was a coach for a year, my business doubled. So if you put in the effort and the right activities and you're consistent, you could see the results faster. But the question was, your question was, how do you stay committed?
How do you stay like, yeah, so say for example, you're going through, you're hitting this goal. You've already given us a little clue as to your mindset. It's really strong. How did it get so strong?
So I read a book here recently, and it's funny how he explained this, but I am in love with the process. Like I'm in love with the journey. I enjoy helping people buy and sell houses. Like I love the hunt to be able to find somebody that needs help, being able to come in and help them and then be raving fans and refer me business. Like I just love that whole process.
Right.
So being in love with like the work. Now the accomplishments are great, number one in Texas, like, sort of just making the money. That's exciting. Being able to take my family to Switzerland for 3 months at Christmas, that is exciting. And that keeps me very motivated. And we did. We went to Switzerland. We got to celebrate my husband's healing. He had some really bad medical stuff he was diagnosed with back in 2022. And 2023, end of the year, we heard the best news ever. which
Wow.
I wrote in my prophecy letter and read it every day because I believe that we can put into the universe what we want. And
Right.
God blessed us with healing. And so we went to Switzerland for 3 weeks. It
That
was
is
amazing.
amazing. Tell us,
Yeah.
so this is huge. Can you believe
Yeah.
that? Like 3 weeks in Switzerland, she wrote a prophecy letter, which, talk about a great mindset. Napoleon Hill had talked about this prophecy letter in the first couple
Mhm.
chapters of the book. I think it's in the first chapter, writing out, where exactly you want to be. Tell us about the prophecy letter, because it sounds like it's something you believe in and it
I
worked,
definitely believe in a prophecy letter. They're fun to write. And
right?
the more detailed you get, and there's two ways to look at it. You can either write a prophecy letter, put it up, and then read it at the end of the year and see what came true, which I have done. But what I like better is you write the prophecy letter and then you read it throughout the year, right? Like declare it. Make it
Yes.
so detailed. I mean, I literally wrote, we were sipping hot chocolate, watching Santa go by in his zip lines, overlooking Lake Geneva with the Swiss Alps in the background. And it makes me want to cry. When we got to Montreux, our hotel, I didn't even realize our view was that holiday market where Santa rides by on the zip line overlooking the Swiss Alps. I mean, talk about motivation, right? Like
Wow.
incredible. We've gone to Italy. Like I'm a big experience person. I love experience. I love being able to help people. I like being generous, and you can't do that if you don't make money.
No,
And like what do I got on here? Investment properties, passive income. So vision board.
right?
Prophecy letter is where you essentially write out, you can do it for the next year, you can do it for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But you
Hmm.
write out what you want to accomplish like it's already happened.
Hmm.
Doesn't have to be super long. Mine's 2 pages, but you essentially write down in business, personal, family, spiritual. You can get as deep as you want or as vague as you want, but the more real it is, the more apt it's going to happen. And
That's
like I said, I like reading it each day.
that is huge, Rebekah. I hope you guys all took a note on that, because it might sound hokey to some people, but here is a real life example, and we've heard so many great
Mm-hmm.
examples when people write out exactly what they want to accomplish, read it, write it every single day. It starts to happen. So
It's
switching
a psychology
gears,
thing. One thing, Renee. So
is
has
it? Oh
everyone
yeah.
heard of the reticular activating system? Right? Like what
Mhm.
we focus on is what we see. When you're going to buy a car, what do you see? You see way more of the car that you're thinking about buying. When people want to buy a house, that's why we always ask for referrals during the transaction. When is the best time to ask for a referral?
Right.
Right? Like at the listing appointment.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, so you ask for it because now they're going to start thinking and seeing real estate because they're in it. And then when they go
True.
pending, you ask them for a referral. When they close, you ask them for a referral. You ask for referrals multiple times because all that's on their mind is buying and selling houses. It's a reticular activating system. Same thing with the prophecy letter. If you focus on it, it'll happen.
Wow. Are you guys picking up what a mindset? Is there any surprise she's the top Rajiv in all of Dallas?
She's so great mindset. And
Oh,
That's
I
thank you.
cannot stop myself to give one compliment also.
please.
She's so beautiful.
Ah!
Oh, thank
I
you.
couldn't stop myself. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Rajiv, you
Hey,
see
that's
that?
something else I put in it. I gained like 60 pounds when I was having my baby, and I finally just got below where, so I've been working hard. I
So
appreciate that
that was,
compliment.
it's funny how it works. This, you guys just segued in. Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you, Rebekah. That's my next question. Discipline.
Mhm.
Discipline. Rebekah happens to be one of the most disciplined people I know in the system. And if you follow her on social media, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, she went through a period, Rebekah, where you worked out every single day, like 7 days a week, and you posted it. And I was like, oh my God, push-ups and
Yeah.
like hard stuff. And I
I thought
thought,
about how many push-ups I did over the course of a couple months because I was doing 100 push-ups a day. You start
oh,
adding that up, 100 times 7, that's 700 times 4. I was like, holy crap. And you know what? My like shoulders and arms are like ripped. So it's
wow. So tell us about the discipline of your exercise and how that relates to this strength in your business, because there's obviously some type of relationship and something you've noticed. Tell us about that.
So I was listening to an Ed Mylett podcast. If y'all don't
Okay.
listen to him, I hope you do, but definitely do if you don't.
The one thing
He
book
mentioned,
guy.
he said it doesn't have to be an imbalance, right? Like some people think, oh, well, I don't have time to work out. If I work out, then that means I can't spend with my family. And if I spend too much time with my family, then my business is going to suffer. Like, I don't believe that. I believe that if I'm fantastic in the gym and I feel strong and I've taken care of my temple, right? Then that pours over into, I can get on the ground and crawl with my daughter and play with her and chase her around and have a great time and go on long walks and take her to the park. And right, like it pours into how I am to my husband because I'm happy with myself. So I feel like I'm enough for him. And like, it's all just revolving. And if I'm happy in my family, then of course it's going to pour over to my business to where I can give more at my business. And then, man, we make all this money. I can take my family to Switzerland, right? Like we can, so it all is intertwined and there's no reason that you can't be great at all of these things.
Yeah.
You may have to get up earlier. You may have to go to bed a little earlier, right? Like, but you could do it. You know, I despise when people say, well, I don't have time for that, or I'm a mom, or I've got kids, or, and I get it. Like, believe me, there are days that I do not want to get out of the bed. But if you really want it, like, and you really just get clear on what you want out of life, it becomes easy, honestly. Like, and the more disciplined you are, the better the rest of your life can be. Because if I get up, and don't get me wrong, I get distracted. I got distracted this morning with prospecting. Right. And then I had to do my hair, you know, so I took my mindset break, did my hair, you know, so like we're not perfect, but the reality is if you can be disciplined, I prospect, I do my lead follow-up, right? I have my lunch, I go on my listing appointments, I can get done on time so I can go pick up my daughter no later than 3 o'clock, hang out with my family, have dinner together, right? Like the more disciplined you are, the better the rest of those parts of your life can be.
Very great point, right? You just hit on a few great things there that come from discipline. So you actually see it, like back to what you had said earlier, you love this work. You love to do this. And I feel like we get that from you today, Rebekah. It just pours out into your workouts, into your schedule, which finishes back to the family. So tell us about repetitious boredom, because those 100 push-ups a day, those prospecting calls, after a while, all of that stuff can get boring. How do you deal with repetitious boredom?
Well, and if you haven't noticed what personality type I am, I'm expressive. So I like things exciting.
She's expressive. See, Mr. B? Just like you.
What's that?
Mr. B is very expressive. He produces a lot also, and he can relate. That's why he's smart.
There you go. Yeah, my guy up there.
There you
go.
So
you got to just make things interesting. I change stuff up. So like right now I'm at Hotworks. I go into Hotworks. I like it. You go in the sauna. I do my Bible time. And by the way, when it comes to mindset, I'm a believer and I try to start every single day with Jesus. And to me, if I can get focused on my spiritual in the morning, everything else falls into place. So whatever you believe, start with that in the morning because that will help you. But like I go to Hotworks before I went to yoga class, like, you know, sometimes I work out in my gym in the community. You just make things interesting. I don't do 100 push-ups right in a row, but I'll slip in 25 between this set or 25 over here. Or, you know, I might do 50 in the morning and 50 at night. Repetitious boredom with prospecting. You find the beauty in the work. So like, think about the conversations that you're having. So for instance, I listed my neighbor's house 2 doors down. They have been wanting to get on land for almost a year, right? Their agent had their house listed before and it was just atrocious, essentially how she was doing it and not getting activity and not getting offers and not communicating and all that stuff. And we listed their house and we sold their house and now they get to go be on land, right? Where the text that they send, like we're ecstatic. Like I can't even tell you how excited we are about this house. And like, that's what it's all about. And so when you think about prospecting, think about like who you could find today that you could truly just bring so much happiness to them and help them achieve their goals and change up your sources. You know, if you get
Mhm.
bored with expires or nobody's picking up, call some just listed, just sold. If you get bored with them, call some database, call your
Mhm.
VIP clients where you know they're going to hype you up. You know, just make it fun. Get on a prospecting Google Hangout if you need to. Go into the office if people prospect there. Get into
Right.
a different area and prospect. You know, change your environment a little bit.
Change it up. Those are huge. Wow, Rebekah, you've given us so much. Where did the time go? Like there's so much there that we just picked up from you that you threw out. That was fantastic. You know, mixing it up, falling in love with the work, finding the beauty, and look at how you help that family, but focusing in on that. It seems like you don't recognize even the repetitious boredom because you're finding the
The
beauty in
day
all of
just
those
flies on
moments.
by.
Flies
It
on by, like
flies
this
on
call.
by.
So we've got top Dallas realtor right here, right now, ready to take your questions. Does anyone have any questions? Rajiv.
Rebekah, how do you be that discipline? I lack that discipline, and I want to work on the discipline.
One
Rajiv
thing at a
struggles
time.
with this. Ah,
Don't try to like change everything overnight. Think about what is the most important thing this week that I can change that'll help me to gain more discipline and be better at my business. One thing. And then work on that for a few weeks until you feel like, okay, I've got a handle on this. I'm actually aggressively following up on my leads every day. What's next? All right, I'm starting later than I need to. I want to shave it back 30 minutes. That's what I'm going to work on this week. And get some accountability.
Accountability.
Oh, that's
tell
one
us
thing I didn't
about
talk
that,
about.
Rebekah,
So I
because
have-
you have. Yeah, you didn't tell us about that.
So Mona out of California and Matt McMillan, my Florida guy, we text every Sunday what our commitments are for that week. And for us, like mine this week is at least 100 contacts, set 2 appointments at least. What is the other? 5+ workouts, meaning like 5 or more workouts. Let me look at it. So anyway, but we do those commitments. Oh, I've got to talk to at least 10 probate, whether that's attorneys or actual people with properties, and then 5 or more times starting with Jesus in the morning. If I miss any of those, I pay him $100. So $100 per miss. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Those
that's
100
not
bucks
fun. I mean, $100,
hurts.
it's not like the end of the world, but it is not fun losing and sending money to people. Like, I hate that. And so
Oof.
every week, it could be Sunday or something. Well, I don't ever work on Sundays, but it could be a Saturday. And I don't like working on Saturdays these days either. I'm like, ugh, I've got a prospect because I'm not paying them $100. So it works.
Look
But
at
yeah,
that.
that's ours. Is every Sunday we text each other what our commitments are.
That is really great, Rebekah. So you can all find people in your office, find people in your who you role play with or accountability and say, hey, listen, can we put $100 on the line that I actually text you that I started on time or I finished 100 contacts this week? And it sounds like that pain, 100 bucks not going to break anyone, but the pain of sending the money is what will cause
and for us, 3 people work. It just has worked over the years, but for most cases, one-on-one is typically the best because nobody can hide. You start having these big accountability groups, and I feel like that's where people just start to like hide, and then nobody pays, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah. But one-on-one on one will definitely, there's nowhere to hide. Well, listen, we want to be respectful of Rebekah's time. Any last question? Anything? Oh, Mr. B. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Being expressive here, I wrote it down so I don't forget.
Yeah, he has to
But
write it down.
I completely agree that the accountability groups that keeps me in the game and keeps me on my foot. I have to report like now I have 5, 6 accountability groups, small groups, and 90 days we are doing. I have to call the guy 3 times a day. This is what I'm gonna do at noon. I did this. Hey, I didn't get an appointment, but I still have 5 hours. I'm gonna do it. You know, so it keeps you going. My question to you, I know you said a few things about it, but how do you eliminate distraction to stay on schedule of prospecting? That's our bread and butter, right?
Especially being expressive is what he means.
Gosh, we
Rebekah.
want to do so many things at one time. Like I'm a master at multitasking. Oh, if you figure it out, let me know. No, I mean, every day I've gotten a lot better lately. I will say I'm working, I feel like back at full speed since I had my daughter. Like having my daughter, that changes everything. I used to go to the gym, get ready there, get to the office, you know, be there at 6:30, 6:45, work for a little bit, get role play. No, it's hard now because my number one is my family. And so I'm here in the mornings with them. And so my day gets started a little later. But as far as like the distractions go, I find the days that I'm most like not distracted is you got to just keep your phone away from you or on do not disturb. Don't have anything else on your screen if you're on a screen, or do it old school, print your list and just go literally and sit and make phone calls. Like just eliminate the distractions. And that's when I find I do the best, is when I get my family and stuff on board too, where I'm like, listen, if you want to go on a big trip this year, don't call me during these hours. Like, this is mama making money time.
This is mama making money
unless
time.
it's an emergency, don't bother me.
That's a great way. So you
afternoon.
actually have a script for the family. And if you have to have a script to protect that environment, right, Rebekah? Because you said, listen, if you're going to make these calls, if we're going to go on 3 weeks in Switzerland, mama's got to make this money.
Yep.
Certain
Mama's got to make that money.
Mama's got to make that money. And on that, we will wrap up. Thank you, Rebekah. Everyone, give a virtual.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you guys for all coming. Look out for more of these. These are great. We learned so much.
Can I get a picture of everybody?
Yeah, take one.
All right.
Let's get one here. Awesome,
Perfect.
Rebekah. That's
Thanks,
great.
everyone.
Thank you,
Let's go
Femi.
make
Thank
some
you,
money.
Vadim. Go make some money now.
I'm gonna go take
Be
a
like
listing.
Rebekah. Be like Rebekah.